interface to these decentralized protocols. And I think if we had gone down that path years ago, we'd be one of the top blockchain crypto companies. That product still doesn't exist. And so one way to like figure out what your vision is to think back from first principles and think, okay, where do we think this industry is headed? Where do we think the puck is headed? And what products do we think need to exist in order for this future to become a reality? We've aligned. The company even before we decentralized, we had a clear vision for this is what we're going to build. And then when we decentralized, we shared that with the community, and we invited people to say, hey, is there a better vision? Is there something more valuable that we could actually be building towards? And overwhelmingly, the community was in support of building the best interface to the decentralized universe. One that's open source, community owned, non-custodial, supports multiple wallets, supports multiple chains, is decentralized, which is a huge piece there that will take time, and is free. And we have a beautiful model for how we can do that in a way that makes a lot of sense. Yes, there's assumptions there, but we've had users trading on ShapeShift before. We've had users buying crypto on ShapeShift before, and they're still doing it. We still have a solid user base, which is a lot more than what a lot of new startups have to start with, right? And we can get very valuable data from our existing user base. And as we continue to build towards this big vision, which is going to take some time. And right now, unfortunately, we are having to play catch up because the industry has evolved past us, and we don't offer a lot of the core functionality that users now expect as table stakes and that our competitors do offer. But we have a path to leapfrog them and to catch up and to go beyond that. And I think we're already seeing such early signs of validation there, but we shouldn't expect to have product market fit right now. Like what we're offering right now is not a game changer. And I think we know that, right? And we knew that when we set down this path to rebuild everything. So I'm still bullish AF on this vision until a community member can propose a better vision. If there's a better vision we should abandon our efforts and go towards that path, I'm open to hearing it. But right now, I agree that we don't have data to say that we don't have product market fit, or even to say that Foxy is the best thing that has product market fit. We've got some encouraging signs. We've got users who are doing volume, and we're generating revenues. And we have a path to add features that we have high confidence will improve the product that our users have requested from us before, and that things that they are doing, right? And they're doing in ways that are clearly fragmented and not how things are going to be done in the future and need to be improved. And we have a great vision for how to improve that in a scalable way, and get to that first principles platform that needs to exist, that does not exist yet, and that we are arguably in the best position to deliver. So those are my thoughts, and I spoke for a bit there, but yeah, hopefully you guys hear that. And if not, I would love to hear, counter arguments to that.
Yeah, no argument, Willie. I'm not arguing. I was just asking as a conversation about the DAO and just as a community what we're looking for. And I know that we feel that analytics are going to be helpful to help decipher that the product market fit, and help us kind of move forward. So I kind of had moved past the Pendo conversation a little bit, and I apologize because it was a different forum, but I kind of like cracked the conversation a little bit more on the aspect of just where are we, how are we going, and what velocity we want to go at, and I hear DeFi's conversation points, and I take that as a good point to go off of in yours as well, Willie. So I will back up and allow you guys to continue to voice the options that we have going forward.
Appreciate it. Never was. And yeah, I didn't mean to steer back to the Pindo conversation. It seemed kind of like we were going towards more of like a product market fit, a vision. Are we building the right thing conversation? I think it's a good conversation to have. So like, I would love to hear people's thoughts on this. And Josh, I know you've got some good thoughts.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Well, and I was actually, I like the whole conversation about Pendo, and I definitely want that in. But on the product market fit, I mean, I think there's general agreement we don't have it, but thinking about like, how do we have it? And the one thing about all the things that Never was saying about innovation is that, yeah, we need ideas first, right? And so I'm kind of curious. I just heard a little bit about this idea about more yieldies, and if that could be something that might be one thing that can really attract some people into our greater ecosystem.
I think that really can. And something that at a high level I'm concerned about as well is we're largely like an interface, and we kind of straddle this Web 2, Web 3 chasm. Like we have interface with the chain, but we don't do as much stuff on chain. Now, Foxy is something that we definitely ventured into the on chain territory, and to pull in like nearly 7 mil, I haven't checked today, TVL in a matter of weeks. Now, that's not insignificant, right? It's like 5% of the way, 6% of the way, 7% of the way towards $1 billion TVL. And, you know, what happens if we can push that by an order of magnitude? You know, what if that's 50 mil TVL? Then we're talking real numbers, right? Like we need to be thinking about everything we build. You know, we have quite the DAO treasury, but from TMDC's, like as TMDC points out, like there's only in relative to the size of the treasury, the amount of liquidity on market is a lot lower, and so like those treasury numbers of kind of like circulating supply times price is not really what we've got available. Like I'm trying to think in terms of how do we like, you know, how much runway do we really have? And what's our overall vision of what we're trying to do? And we should be questioning this as well. But if we're trying to do this affiliate marketing model, which is a robust one, right? It's a diversified revenue stream, and we're protected from any individual protocol failures. And you know, it's proven in the Web2 model and can adapt to the Web3 model. But if we're trying to drive, if ultimately we want diversified revenue streams to the DAO, which come from affiliate fees from protocols, we need to be driving stuff into protocols, and Foxy and hence like iterations on that product flavor and yieldies is really pushing us towards that direction. I think it's really needed. You know, it's the value of being this interface into all these things is great, but that's kind of like the table stakes of being able to access it. It's like, what are we driving into, and having our own product offering that people can drive assets into is you know, a really big step, and I think we should be doubling down on that.
Yeah, I hear you, and I really want to provide kind of the other perspective, because I think I'm stoked about the yieldies, and I agree. Like we built this for Foxy, it's awesome. We're seeing some early signs of success. Although I will say, like a lot of that, the deposits, a lot of them have come from the DAO, and a lot of them have come from a few Fox whales. And we should be careful not to just be like, oh, boom, we got product market fit. Let's put all our eggs in this basket. I do agree, though, that it makes a ton of sense now that we've got Foxy to look at the route we're exploring right now for launching these additional yieldy tokens, because it's low effort and it's high impact, and it can help bring users into this interface. But I really want to it's cool that we can build both an interface and build protocols. And I don't want us to say that we should only build the interface. And I don't want to say necessarily just yet that we should only build protocols, because the cool thing about being the interface is that there's a ton of fucking protocols out there, and every day new protocols are getting launched. And even over the past 1 year, we've seen how the kings of DeFi a year ago aren't guaranteed to be the kings of DeFi a year from today. And we can try and play in that game and try and compete and build our own protocols and hope that we build the best protocol of any given type. But then our potential is limited to the potential of that protocol. The model that we're building right now as the interface, where we're already seeing such strong validation that these protocols are happy to put up bounties to get integrated into ShapeShift. They're happy to share a portion of the revenues they generate with ShapeShift. That is a fucking powerful model, and that can enable us to be the top DAO. I'm sharing my screen right now, and I'm showing you all these DAO treasuries, all these for these random protocols or various protocols, and they're huge. They're bigger than the ShapeShift DAO treasury, and we could hope to try and launch a protocol that competes with them and gets us to a treasury of a similar size. Or if we can get a slice of the revenue that each of these protocols themselves is generating, let's say we get 30% of Uniswap, we get 25% of Lido, we get 30% of Aave, 40% of Olympus, 70% of Synthetics, 25% of ENS. Like these stack up, and we can be bigger than any one of these individual protocols. We are already on such a great track. Like I would hate to see us abandon this ability for protocols to come integrate themselves with these awesome abstraction layers, these awesome UI UX that we're building that is better, in my opinion, than a lot of the UI UX for a lot of these individual protocols. And again, like how long in blockchain's history are we going to have each of these protocols building and hosting their own shitty interface to their protocol, when instead they can get integrated into ShapeShift, get a free interface that's open source, soon decentralized. They don't have to host it themselves, available borderlessly all around. And get exposure to ShapeShift's users. And as soon as we turn on the Fox rewards and say, hey, the best way to use these protocols is through ShapeShift. Right now, we can't really say that, right? We can say, hey, come use Yearn through ShapeShift. There's not going to be any extra fees. It's a great UI UX. But if you're already using Yearn, now you're going to have to like reapprove the tokens, withdraw your tokens. Like there's not a compelling reason yet for users to come do all this stuff through us. As we add more of these protocols into a single interface and do this across chains and get the best at doing things again, like the best place where you can do stuff in Ethereum land and Cosmos land, I think we're going to start to see natural product growth. And then as soon as we add the Fox rewards on it, I think it's going to really accelerate it. And like, if we already have these revenue streams established where if users come in right now and buy or sell crypto, it's going to generate revenues, right? And we're about to have that with trading too. We've got that with Yearn. As soon as we have this data, we can start spending money on user acquisition and know that like, okay, we can at least, on average, we're generating $3 of revenue a year, $10 of revenue per year per user. Okay, let's see, can we acquire users for close to that, ideally under that, and get a repeatable model and crank the heat up on that. Until somebody else builds that, I think it needs to exist. And I really, that's what I want to build. I think it's like one of the most needed things in the world. All these protocols are amazing, but without this decentralized interface that it can onboard the masses, and actually be censorship resistant, we can't achieve this decentralized future that all these protocols are building towards. So yes, we can decide that we want to compete on the protocol level, or we can leapfrog that entirely and be the interface that aggregates the protocols. And while we don't yet have product market fit, I wouldn't expect us to have product market fit right now, but we do have a lot of validation that they're on the right path. So that's my counterpoint to it. And I still want to explore the yieldies more and launch more yieldy tokens and see if that helps. But even then, I think that can actually support the interface strategy really well, especially if we can get the communities of these other yieldy tokens to say, hey, to promote these yieldy tokens, the only way to do it is on the ShapeShift interface. They come in for the yieldies and they stay for the awesome interface that we provide.
Come for the crack, stay for the cocaine.
I'm doing well, thank you.
Exactly.
I'm doing well.
Hey,
Someone's
Jiffy.
got a hot mic.
Jiffy, can you hear us? Oh, cool.
I've just booted them. I can come back when they're interested. I didn't want to server mute him because it's persistent. But yeah, to your point, it's I'm not saying we abandon the interface play. I think the interface play is robust. But I think we should also kind of like augment it with our own offerings. And to your point though, like I'd hate to be an own fork right now.
What was the last thing you said? You'd hate to what?
I'd hate to be an own fork right now.
For sure. Yeah, I really like the position that we're in. But I'll stay open-minded. If we start to see that another interface is doing a better job at that, or that even after we are providing multiple of these features in a single interface across chains, and if we're not able to attract users and stuff, then we absolutely should be asking these questions. But at least my perspective is that still is the best vision available to us, although I'm open to better visions to being proposed. And I think it's too soon for us to say that strategy or that vision isn't the right strategy, even though we currently don't have as many users or as much growth as we'd like to see. I think there's really good reasons for that. So cool. Glad to hear your perspective. Josh, I'd love to hear your thoughts or others' thoughts on this.
Well, the question I have, I mean, you paint there's some compelling aspects to the vision that you paint. How do we validate that before we build the whole thing, right? Like, what do you think are some of the tests along the way that show us that we're on the right path?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about this the other day, and I wrote down some notes on kind of like what I thought would be a next good target for us to aim for. And it's just notes. So let's discuss it right now. I'll share my screen again. So I was thinking, I'm like, what would I really like for us to see before I would feel comfortable, at least, like really saying, okay, this strategy is not working. So right now we've got Osmosis, Thorchain, CowSwap, ElasticSwap trading. The swapper abstraction is already complete as far as I understand, or if not, it's close to complete. And like things like Osmosis, Thorchain are already in progress, and CowSwap is right around the corner. They're willing to put the bounty up for that. ElasticSwap is just going to do the development themselves. I want to see this complete because we've already built so much of it. It's in progress. And I think, again, this starts to get us back to the place where we are innovating, where we're providing things that other interfaces aren't, that are valuable to some subset of users, right? I also want us to get some support for some other EVMs. The EVM abstraction is also already in progress, so I'd want to see that through completion. And this is one of the things that we really are missing. And as soon as we can add this, I think it at least brings us back up to being able to compete with our competitors. Support for some of these more Cosmos zones. Again, I think this is the taking advantage of that Cosmos abstraction that we've already invested so much in. We already have some other Cosmos zones in progress. If we can add more Cosmos zones and enable them for trading on Osmosis, again, this starts to really put us in a strong position. And like, I would be so surprised if we get a lot of these things done and we aren't seeing user growth, and we're so close to this. Ability to connect some more wallets. Dex DeFi, Tally, Kepler, Wallet Connect, taking advantage of the wallet abstraction. A lot of these are already in progress. Wouldn't want to abandon that. Bridging between these EVM networks and Cosmos zones, building the bridge abstraction, taking advantage of grant funding that we already have. So this would be a new thing that needs to get built, but we do have some grant funding. We were selected as one of 15 teams from Axelar to get 20K. They have deposited that into the ShapeShiftDAO treasury. And we went to a kickoff meeting this morning. And Axelar is pretty freaking dope. It's live. You can bridge funds across a number of different EVM networks and Cosmos zones. It's chain agnostic. And it's cheap. It's like $20 to bridge from Ethereum to these other zones. It's pretty cool. And again, I think like this puts us in a really unique position. And I think we could do a strong campaign to get Cosmos zones that also like Cosmos users that also like Ethereum, and Ethereum users that also like Cosmos to come use ShapeShift. Support for more single-sided staking protocols. We've got the single-sided staking abstraction. We've got this idle in progress with affiliate revs and the bounty. And I would love to see us, parlay that and get other single-sided staking protocols to come integrate themselves. So don't have like a specific number, but the more that we can get there, especially if they're integrating themselves, the better. And we've already got that awesome single-sided staking abstraction in UI UX. Another one that I feel really passionate about, like we need to give our users the ability to use other dApps with ShapeShift supported wallets. If we can do that, it's a much stickier experience. We can really become like the primary interface for users, as if we also have this displaying the DeFi positions. Without that, though, like I'm not going to be surprised if we're losing users. So like these things I think are critical, and I think they're so valuable. We're so close. We've already done a lot of the hard work. Like let's not change course and abandon this awesome vision when we're so close to achieving it. And it was so great when we were all aligned on it, and like the progress that we've made over the past 9 months towards this. And we built such a solid foundation. So yeah,
all that looks great. My initial impression from looking at that is there's got to be some checkpoints along the way. Like if we're not, that's a lot, right? I don't know, DeFi. I'm curious. You certainly have a better opinion. But like these 8 things.
Real quick, I hear you. And I just want to clarify, we should absolutely be capturing data at every step of the way, basically. And I would expect that we're seeing growth. Like we should be seeing more users and not fewer users. And we got to be careful not to just like take data right now when we shouldn't think that we should have product market fit and abandon it. But yeah, I certainly don't want to say that we should ignore all data until we get there.
We can't know anything about our product market fit right now because we don't have data.
Right.
Yeah,
my main thing here is I don't want to abandon the vision. I wouldn't want to abandon the vision until we've achieved this that we're so close to. Go ahead, DeFi.
Yeah, so I guess the source of truth would be like to pull up the this one, the full thing. I didn't realize they had a palette command. I don't know if you can make that turbo small to kind of show that we're kind of like blocked out to the end of May at least. Yeah. From what Diggy and I are working on the ground, and the respective teams are like wallet connection. So, Passer's taking care of the Kepler thing right now. We just, overnight this morning, starting group chats with those guys. The Wallet Connect Bounty Hunter, we're going to have to bring that back in-house because they didn't deliver anything again. But my main concerns are like wallet connection. Wallet Connect gets us a lot. Kepler gets us a lot for staking. Apologies, I'm going to sneeze. Hang on.
Gesundheit. That's
I
a
think
big
there's more to come, but I'll keep rambling. Yeah, Wallet Connect and then Pendo. So like Mr. Nerdhead's working on that stuff, but like users and metrics basically, and then all that other stuff is happening. You know, like we're doing the swapper refactor, and then the chain agnosticism epic that you can see is up the top, which should be marked as started. It's definitely in progress. You can update that if you want to right now. But that is the groundwork required to, do all the EVM support stuff. So, and similarly, like Kevin's back now, we're talking about like, do we run our own Thorchain coin stack for that gets us native Rune to, and might make it easier for the swapping side of things. So fundamentally, yes, but just operationally on the ground, like the wallet connection stuff and the metric stuff is really top of mind for me. Like get users, measure them, and then kind of continue on from there.
Well said.
And what do you think of DeFi? This list of so I guess what I don't quite know is that list. How does that transpose onto that exactly?
Yeah, that's a good point. So I assume
I see cow
anyway,
swap there. Like I'm
yeah. So yeah, cow swap's on there. Thorchain's on there. We can actually do Thorchain swapping without supporting native Rune asset. You won't be able to do like a Rune to arbitrary asset or vice versa swap, but you will be able to do like ERC20 to Bitcoin or Bitcoin to ETH, any of the, or I don't think they support Atom as like a base asset there, but swapping is definitely Thorchain swapping is possible. Elastic swap, I think Phil could add more to that when he's back. The bridging thing, I haven't heard anything about building a bridge abstraction. Those things are fucking terrifying. If you look at like the Ronin network hack, the wormhole hack on Solana, those things are tremendously difficult to get right. I don't believe we have the expertise or resources in-house to do that in the immediate or medium-term future. I'd love to lean on people that do. It's kind of more aligned with us integrating with others rather than being the builders ourselves. But, I'm kind of happy to defer to Willie's expertise there for the stuff that we can rely upon.
Totally. Yeah, I think I will say that like a lot of this, I think everything up here, besides the bridging, this has already been in progress or is currently in progress or like on the near roadmap, which is pretty cool. The bridging piece, we just basically got accepted into this grant program like this past week. It just started today, in fact. And it's pretty cool. Like we saw a demo of their product. It's less to your point around the risks of like these other bridging protocols. It's not like a multi-sig centralized one. It uses the same threshold signature schema that Thorchain and Rin Bridge use, which is really badass. So it very much is like a actual decentralized bridge. It's live. This is what Osmosis has just selected as their canonical bridge via governance proposal. So the kind of the plan right now too, just for the timeline, is we want to have at least the product UI UX and the spec ready to go by the end of this phase 1 June. And then if we do impress them, we were one of the 15 projects selected for this 20K grant. Phase 2, 5 of those projects will get selected for a $200,000 grant. It'd be awesome. I think we're in a good position to, if we can impress them in this first phase, show them a great product UI UX and spec, and ideally, like the more we can show, the better. So if we have bandwidth to show like some architectural diagrams, to even throw together a quick proof of concept, like whatever we can do to go above and beyond that, I think will really help secure this $200,000 grant for the next phase. But yeah, it's one that I recognize is not on the near term roadmap. I think that's right, but I think that it should be on a little bit further out there, and we do have this nice advantage of this grant, this $20,000 grant funding, and potentially $700,000 in additional grant funding. And yeah, I think it aligns really well with our vision of, especially as we have a support for Ethereum and Cosmos, enabling users to go between them. We can again be the best at that point, and I think make a big push to acquire users. The staking is like a killer revenue stream. I would say we do have some strong product market fit already with the fact that people who hold these tokens on these proof of stake networks like to delegate them to the ShapeShift DAO validator. And I can only imagine that increasing once we actually enable that in our UI UX and add more of these features that would attract Cosmos users. And I think that's a killer revenue stream. And as we add support for more Cosmos zones, as we add Osmosis support, the bridging and stuff, and that native UI UX for doing it in our interface, I think we can. I think that can be a really strong revenue stream that we are already seeing some strong degrees of some validation for. And then the others, this one is further out there, but one that I think we can do with relatively low effort, and working on the spec for that. This one also, something that's more catch up. I think it's going to be really hard for us to get to achieve true success until we have this. It's one of the main reasons that right now I can't use ShapeShift myself, is just because it doesn't see a lot of my assets, because a lot of my shit's deployed into DeFi strategies. And that's what a lot of power. It's the same for a lot of power users, I assume. And it's a big missing feature when you connect your wallet and you don't see this, and it's a big plus when you connect your wallet to an app and they do show this. And I've seen apps like StakeDAO, one of our competitors. I got their airdrop the day I connected my wallet. They showed me all my stuff, and I'm like, how do they do this? And it was because they use this open source Zerion DeFi SDK. It's something I've been wanting us to do for so long, and I really
can we? Is it possible to do that with a bounty?
I had asked about that recently. What do you think, DeFi?
I remember looking into that. We kind of, there's some community members I could throw that to. Isolated from a product perspective, it requires quite a bit of forethought of how you map those assets to our IDs and stuff. If there's a outstanding community contributor, yes, but there's some architectural concerns there of how we do that. Okay. I'd love to conceptually. Yeah. In reality, I haven't seen the expertise to be able to do that.
Yeah, what you're saying makes sense.
Understood. We still need to do UI UX together on the product side for this as well. I know we've done some exploration, but yeah, you can see here all the different protocols that are supported that we'd be able to display this balance information for. Like basically, if users holding any of these tokens or are staked in any of these protocols or are borrowing and lending, we can get that data on chain using this SDK and then display it to users. And that, oh my gosh, I cannot wait until we can do that. And once we have that, and once we have the ability to use other dApps through ShapeShift, I will stop using MetaMask and I will use ShapeShift. But until then, it's just really hard for even me to do that, because it's just missing that functionality that I view as necessary.
Yeah, I totally agree. I can't see my portfolio in one spot, and it pains me as well. And I use StakeDAO too. I've got, I don't know. We should consider cannibalizing some of their strategies too, like their covered calls are great, for example.
Yeah, totally. Cool. But yeah, what I like about this is that we're not starting from scratch. Like, if no one had built this and it still needed to exist and no one was building it, I'd be like, let's build this from scratch, because I really think it needs to exist. But fortunately, we're not completely starting from scratch. We've got a lot of this stuff in place. We've got a lot of the processes, at least at good early stages, to just scale and to expand upon. And I just think this is a fucking killer model. And we've never been closer to actually having this. And it's so hard for me to imagine, like, if we do build that interface, which is going to take some time, and we got to make sure that no one else beats us to it. But just the model there and the network effects that we can establish, and that we're already proving that we can establish even in this early stage, those are priceless. Like, I'm such a big fan of the network effects, the network effect model, and how powerful that can be. It is my favorite type of business to try and build, is one that creates these network effects that cannot be forked. Our code can be, but our network effects cannot be. And the network effects of this model are just so sound in so many ways. And so, yeah, I get, there's nothing in the world that I'd rather build than this. And I hope I've done a decent job of like getting the community excited about this. But again, always open-minded. If anyone can come up with a better thing that we should be focusing our efforts for, like, we should always be asking that question and continue asking that question. But I am yet to be convinced that there's a better mission out there for us. And we have already gotten a lot of support from the community, at least. And that is valuable. Having a community this large of this many experts that have experience and can build this aligned on this vision is valuable in and of itself. It's hard for me to imagine, again, in order for someone to beat us, they would have to beat us and getting a bigger community of more experts aligned on this vision and have better models of executing it on it. And something that we do have right now is a solid community, a solid team, solid processes, and the ability to build this out in a way that is sustainable. We're just adding more revenue streams, adding more valuable features to our users, and doing it in a way that's open source, can be built upon, and will soon be decentralized and unstoppable. Oh my God, and I get so excited about that. But I'll stop there. I've talked a lot. It's supposed to be an Ask Anyone Anything lunch, and it kind of just turned into Willie trying to shill this vision.
Instead of ask me anything, it became tell us everything.
Yeah.
So anyone else have? I'm going to shut up too. Questions for Willie? I'd love, in particular, if anyone has challenges to what Willie is saying here.
I believe in your vision, sir.
Thank you, H.
Miracle Whip or mayonnaise, Willie? Which one do you prefer?
Mayonnaise, no doubt. No
I
doubt.
really eats it with a spoon straight out of the container as well.
I do like mayonnaise.
Yeah, dude.
I used to, when I was a little boy, I would sometimes just put mayonnaise on a slice of bread and eat that.
And look how he turned out as well.
Thank you guys for the support. Thanks for hearing me out. Thanks for the open-mindedness. And thank you guys for being a part of this. I really think that we can, if we align on this vision, if we get everyone rowing in the same direction, we can achieve something incredible. We can change the world. And again, like, all these protocols are absolutely amazing, but in order for any of these protocols to really achieve their full vision, there needs to be this interface that itself is decentralized and open source and community owned. And I think it should be free. And I think we can build killer network effects with that. And I think that building that is going to unlock so much value for the world. Like, I can't think of something that would more benefit society more than building the interface that empowers all of these protocols and gives everybody access to them in the best UI UX possible. And I think we're taking absolutely the right approach to build that interface that needs to exist. And yeah, I'm honored. I'm excited to be working on it all with you. Any more support or any challenges? Darwin, you like the vision?
Yes, sorry, was working something else, but yeah, love the mission.
Thank you, Darwin. And if you didn't, you would feel.
Sorry, do you mind to say that again?
Awesome. Cool. I'm glad we had this chat. I've heard some conversations around product market fit and stuff. I heard some things that I interpreted as like, oh, we don't have product market fit with the interface stuff, but we've got it with the yieldies. Let's, maybe we should be really, really focusing on the yieldies. And I want to balance that and say, like, yes, let's definitely, if we look at everything we could build right now, expanding on these yieldies, absolutely, it's something we should prioritize. But it's not the only thing we should prioritize. And yeah, but
I think we're currently like just wet finger in the air, probably like 95+% interface, 5% yieldies. And it's like, my suggestion would be like 80-20 sort of thing, or like 85-15, like just a shift in that direction. But like, I still think that it would take quite a bit to invalidate the interface thesis.
Agreed. I'm glad we had this convo. Okay, I think maybe we beat this subject dead. Any other topics anyone wants to bring up, or any other questions about anything anyone would like to ask anyone?
Hey, Willie.
Okay, so go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, could you talk more about the XLR grant and what our timeline and hope for that is?
Yeah, so this XLR grant, I'll post a link in the stage chat if anyone wants to get all the details of it, and I can share my screen too.
To get XLR, I've only found their assets that have been bridged on Frontier.
I don't know where to get their token, and I'm not even sure it's live yet. Like, I was wondering if they were going to send us $20,000 worth of their token. They sent us USDC, which like made me think, and it even said cash or XLR token equivalent values. So, is there has anyone looked on like Coin Market Cap? CoinGecko. Okay, they got a token, but it's preview only. So yeah, their token has not been launched yet. But they do have a token coming. Yeah. But yeah, it's a pretty cool bridge grant program. I certainly don't want us to be like married to Axelar and say this is the only bridge we're ever going to integrate. But when we are considering like, okay, what is the first bridge protocol to choose to enable users to bridge from Ethereum to Cosmos and Osmosis, kind of our top options right now are Evmos or Gravity Bridge or Axelar. So yeah, to be completely transparent, I really don't know what all the different trade-offs are. I do know that Axelar is using this kind of similar technology to Thorchain, this threshold signature schema, which is a really badass technological innovation over the past few years that like simply was not theoretically or at least technically feasible before, doing these things where you have a private key that never exists in one place. It's split into multiple pieces. Different parties hold a piece of this key, and it can basically come together in a trustless, decentralized way to sign transactions in a way that is decentralized, and the private key is never exists in one single place. It's a really brilliant innovation. It enables you to have like kind of similar thing to multi-sig on chains that don't natively support multi-sig. It enables you to do it in a way where that multi-sig can be really easily shuffled, because a lot of times with these networks, the way it works is there'll be a ton of like validators or nodes ready to sign transactions. A certain group of nodes will be randomly selected, and that will change like every time a new transaction is getting signed, or based on some other process of like turning in new validators and stuff like Thorchain has. So it's a really badass model. I think there's a lot of good merit to that approach in terms of like how do we solve this decentralized bridge problem in a trustless and secure way. And yeah, Osmosis has selected Axelar as their canonical bridge in a governance proposal. We got a $20,000 grant. I think it makes a lot of sense for us to at least like focus on Axelar as we build out the UI UX. But we also want to build out the UI UX in a way that we are planning in the future to aggregate other bridges into that same UI UX, both other Ethereum to Cosmos bridges and other cross-chain bridges, bridges between these EVMs, doing that all in one interface. But yeah, we can get, I think if we can show great UI UX at least, and anything above and beyond that will help. Hopefully we can unlock some of these final stages of grants. And again, part of that is because we have a freaking awesome community of builders and a lot already built. So I do think we're in a position to be one of the top teams competing for this next phase.
Awesome, thanks for that. Yeah, I know I'd gotten the Evmos airdrop, and then there was the halt there, so there's been some concerns with that, and it is kind of cool the EVM that they're having, where you can import your Kepler seed phrase into MetaMask and do their swaps on diffusion.
Ooh, tell me about that. I hadn't seen that yet. Evmos lets you import your Kepler seed phrase into MetaMask.
Well, so you can already import it into MetaMask with I have the 24-word option. So I what you do is you just go into the import seed phrase and choose whatever length your Kepler wallet is and import it there. And obviously then once you go to the diffusion.finance, I think it is, I can figure it out. That's where you have to claim your last 25% of your Evmos airdrop, though. You have to do a swap there, and I think it could be as little as like 0.01 or something. So
interesting. I wonder if that same thing would work for ShapeShift native wallet. I assume it would, like import your seed phrase into ShapeShift native wallet, and then now you don't have to like switch between Kepler and MetaMask. You can get the best of both worlds.
Be sweet. Mr. Nerd Hair.
Yeah, I always feel bad like prompting users to paste their seed phrase, but better they paste it into our UI at least, I guess. Then
what are we talking about migrating from? Kepler?
Yeah, and seeing if we could paste that seed phrase into the native wallet and use it there.
Yeah, you could totally do that. I think I'm pretty sure Kepler uses. I know Kepler because I just generated reference transactions for this from Kepler. So yeah, our native wallet Cosmos functions produce exactly the same output as Kepler does for the same seed phrase. So that definitely proves it's using the same derivation path.
Okay. So 24 words work as well, or only 12 word?
Yep, 24 words will work fine. I believe, I don't know what UI we have around. Oh, no, I remember the 12 versus 24 word selection thing is just a keep key thing. Yeah, just paste it in the box and hit the button.
I'll try it right now.
Something bit 44 params.
I'm surprised that you can remember the numbers. I always get like 39, 42, all mixed up.
Mate, we'll get you writing some more code soon. Don't you worry.
Oh my! It accepted the seed phrase. So let's see if my Adam shows up here.
Can you just send your seed phrase so I can make sure you got it correct?
Yeah, it's you actually don't need this.
And I think those words are valid. Just want to send it again.
Yeah, it shows up. Awesome.
Yeah, mine is all. Sorry.
What is it? Alcohol abuse, alcohol abuse, alcohol.
Yeah, that's such a weird one.
The one that we're
it's
getting
really
cancelled
cool to
for,
know.
yeah.
Alcohol woman abuse is what it starts with. So that's just great for, the SJW bait, I guess, man. Come on.
Huh?
You're trying to get us in trouble.
Devs, have you guys seen that? Have you guys seen these new like AI helper coder things that will like try and they like basically ingest all of the open source code out there and then try
I
and
was
suggest
playing one.
code?
I was using Tab9 for a while, and now I use GitHub Copilot. And I've heard that people are like, pasting mnemonics into local stuff to deploy contracts, which is what you have to do. But they're not turning off their tracking, and people are getting private or mnemonics or private keys as suggestions in code, like valid.
Well, to be
current
fair,
key.
it's usually when that's suggested, it's an extremely good suggestion and improves someone's life greatly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was really interesting. Yeah. So yeah, just to share. Yeah, when I first saw it, I was like, oh my gosh! It made it seem like the AI was able to guess or programmatically generate like new valid mnemonics, but then after reading into it, yeah, it was clearly just like mnemonics that had been pasted publicly in somebody else's code that the AI was now picking up and then suggesting when someone else was like, oh, get Ethereum mnemonic and stuff. So
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it can generate 12 valid words. I would be surprised if the checksum's correct. And just using those tools day to day, sometimes they're like, the thing that creeps me out the most is not the code that it writes, but the comments. I go to comment something and it basically writes a comment for me, and it's correct. It's not quite in my voice. It's not quite as angry or cynical as a lot of my comments in code are, but that to me feels creepier than writing a thing that can map over an array and return the thing that I wanted. It's still really cool to play with.
What they need is we can write code. What we need is a Copilot API for writing specs. Let's have the AI generate our tickets.
I don't think you really actually want that, because then none of us have jobs. First they came for the checkout chicks, and then they came for DeFi. It's like, we're drawing the line, man. Shut it down.
It is crazy how close we're getting to that. And have you guys seen the demos of GP3 or GPL3 where you can be like, you can write the spec, be like, oh, I want a website that has a button that when you click it, it adds one apple to the jar or whatever. And then the fucking AI builds it. It's crazy. Yeah,
that compiling React code from I want a gallery app that fades in when I move my mouse, and then it actually spits out working code. That shit terrifies me.
Yeah.
So fun fact or story, when I was 16, I decided to do a different form of engineering, not software. I don't actually have a software degree. But my assumption was that software would be highly commoditized and worthless, and that it wouldn't be a useful skill in the West. And totally wrong about that. Some forms of it are, but a lot of it, all the really good stuff is still happening with autist level programmers. But perhaps that I was just kind of 20 or 30 years too early with my assessment, and then it will become commoditized by machine learning models and just not people so quickly.
Okay, it took me a few seconds there to realize you were saying it was run by artist-level programmers and not autist-level programmers.
No,
it's
I was
probably
saying the
land
latter.
down under thing, but you were probably right both ways.
Yeah, it's both. Code is art, and it's written by those with autism, myself included.
Do you think we'll one day we'll have bounties like getting picked up by AIs submitting pull requests?
Yes.
Can't be worse than some of the people we've got.
Oh, that's cold, Mr. Here. But yeah, it's gonna be wild.
But still, though, imagine that process running and the computer like earning money from bounties. The heck do you do then?
So think about this conceptually, and like I kind of got this idea from George Hotz, the guy that makes Comma AI, right? Like self-driving cars that I use, and Willie's seen the quality of that, and a few others have too. But like, you can think about most processes as a function that takes some input and creates some output. And so, like, if I'm like, Ryan, go and make do a cow swap implementation, and here's the interface. Fundamentally, you're taking like the input, which is like, here's the interface, what we need to implement. Here's some documentation from cow swap. There's your inputs, and your output is an implementation of a swapper. There is some transfer function that exists that takes those documents and takes the interface you have to implement against and turns that into code. And it just happens to be our brains at the moment. But like, we're teaching computers to drive cars, and that's a monumental task. To think that we can't teach a computer to like implement cow swap and ShapeShift, I think is daft. It's not a matter of if, it's just when.
I look forward to when the AIs take over the implementation stuff, so that we can like have the important architectural discussions like full time and not get distracted by having to actually write code for stuff.
Yeah.
Just tell the robots what to do. That does sound really nice. Yeah. Extended further, I wonder. I always wondered if we could get to a future in which like robots grow a lot of the food, robots do a lot of the stuff that humans need to, and that humans don't necessarily like have to work. And I think we could get to that future, but I'm always like really worried about what the journey to the journey to that would be like and all the job displacement that would happen until we get to that future, and like how catastrophic that could be. Yeah.
I think that it's here.
Have you watched the anime Psycho-Pass?
No.
Because if you haven't, you should. It is the premise is that it's set in a near future Japan where technology, basically, camera technology can also like read your rough emotional state. And so like nobody has locks on doors anymore. They just have cameras, and the door doesn't open if you're thinking about doing something malicious. And there's this whole, revolution in policing and whatever. In one of the first few episodes, there's the police's guns have DRM on them essentially, and they won't fire unless the criminal is actually a bad guy.
What you're saying is that like acting will become the most useful skill, and that life is hard.
Well, in one of the later episodes, sort of the climax of one particular arc, there is a this one particular bad guy whose superpower is essentially that he can't be sensed by these sensors, and his big end game is to program the what do they call it, hyper wheat crop distribution thing wrong. And what struck me is just how close that is. I mean, it sounds absurd on the face of it. That in this theoretical future, the entire food supply of the country is generated by massive, mostly automated farms planting crops that are genetically modified on demand. So, that particular year's, sort of like a flu shot, new every year. And so they cook up a particular genetic package, and they, have a machine that spits out all the seeds with that particular set of genetic stuff in him. So he hacks it and basically, makes it so all the wheat's going to die. And I thought, wow, it just sounds like it's a completely off-the-wall product, but it's not too far from reality. If Monsanto delivered bad seeds to everyone, people would starve.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it already happened, right? With Stuxnet, there was like a chain of 0 days from state-level actors that were able to prevent rogue nation states from enriching uranium by bypassing air gaps and compromising proprietary PLC controllers. Like, it's not too far from like reality that a cyber warfare nation actor couldn't do the same to like the water supply in California, like brick a few industrial devices and people die in a couple of days.
So
it's getting pretty morbid.
I used to do industrial control system stuff, and the PLCs are typically wired up and programmed to be very, very safe against accidents, but not that they don't usually take into consideration malicious action. There's I toured multiple data centers where there's redundancy in absolutely everything except the cooling system happens to use like a shared pipe. And if you put like 150 cal hole right there, all the computers would slag themselves. And there's nothing you can do about it. One of the dams I visited, there was if you could just get a device, a malicious device on this one certain bus, then you could trick the control system into trying to pump water when the gates were closed, and it would spin out and ruin the bearings. And these are all custom parts and would take 18 months to replace. Now, power plant attacks aren't very useful unless they're conducted en masse. Taking down 1 or 2 power plants doesn't do anything to anyone except the power plant owner. But if you take down the entire eastern seaboard, then that's a real problem. And so, we're not going to see an industrial control system breach until it is too big to mitigate against. People are like, Russia launches cyber attack against whatever. But the thing is, they're not really launching cyber attacks. It's the cyber attacks were already launched a long time ago. They already backdoored all your shit, and you didn't notice because your security sucks, right? And they're just, sending the magical command. So, there, I've just freaked you all out. Congratulations.
Sounds like a cool sci-fi. I always wondered, so personally, like, I'm not the biggest fan of anime's animation style, but I always hear about these, like, super cool plots. And I've always thought it'd be a funny business for someone to just, like, take really successful anime shows and just relaunch them in America on Netflix with, like, Americanized animation style. Because I would love to watch that sci-fi.
Yeah, like Rick and Morty
versions are actually fairly popular in Japan. Of course, it's the wrong, language. But
with 2 minutes left, can someone explain anime to me? I know what it is, but can someone explain the allure?
So I think
comic books popular. Same allure.
I think it's really less the animation style and more of an approach to depicting reality that can be seen sort of in the animation. In anime, both the looks and the personalities and the settings and so forth are depicted as closer to the ideal than you would get in a real, a live action thing or something. When it's great, it's seriously great.
Sorry, BPM, we're both talking over each other. That one is turned off by the I don't know, childish and immature vibe that I get from it. Perhaps there's some deeper plot behind it that I've yet to kind of push through and discover. But I don't know, face value to me, it's always cringe.
Well, the other thing is not all animes are the same because I stand here defending it as an art form, but will happily admit that 95% of animes that you would pick by throwing stuff at a dartboard are complete, I'd say trash, but there's an audience, it's intended for a certain thing. It's just that's not a highfalutin cultural, thing that's worth sampling if you're not
Yeah. I'm just kind of wondering what the bit I'm missing is. I guess it's just any other niche art form, right? Why do people like bonsai trees? It's they're kind of boring. They're trees, but I think they're cool.
Oh, we built I got a sick Lego bonsai tree recently. Highly recommend that set.
That's the one we did?
We did the ice skating one, but since then we built another cool plant